My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state.
Alrighty, this is mental illness. Just so that you can see, you see this over here? This is a demon. Aiming that light, stalking with light. Michael Lorenz is being diagnosed through the criminal conduct that I'm documenting. They're flying in circles. You're going to look at the Google Drive. I've been documenting the entity stalking by helicopter for a prolonged period, flying in circles behind these trees over here. Over there is where they've been flying in trees. The entity gang stalking Mule Car Smokehouse. These demons up in here. Stalking with the Ontario Police Department. Okay, 200 North Euclid Avenue, engaging in the pattern of conduct, stalking with their hazard lights on, a white BMW, gang stalking, maintaining surveillance, and this is all surveillance as well. But I just want to document that venue, and this is the entity that's engaging in what is psychopathic pacing while a demon is stalking with light aim. This is impossible light activity, meaning I'm being affected by light at that tremendous distance. This is a demon. These are demons that are targeting together. All right, this is the entity that's engaging in this pattern of conduct. This is a pattern of conduct that's serving to diagnose the targeting entity. The targeting entity includes the mentally ill of the Ontario Police Department, and they share the same mental illness of those that are stalking under what is the fake sun. This is the entity that's going to be federally prosecuted, as I am showing through a body of evidence, the mentally ill patterns of an entity that's engaging in what is psychopathic behavior, sexually violent behavior, criminal activity, and furtherance of murdering the person that they are targeting together, and they are a mentally ill population. Okay, this is P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaging in that together, which is where also the airport is stalking. Okay, so this is psychopathic pacing. This is going on the playlist. Again, the playlist regarding mental illness, while I'm exposing to you what the entity is engaging in and the purpose for what they're doing, it's psychopathic pacing using aircrafts, stalking with light. This is, again, going to be prosecuted as Sarah's Regis Group. It's going to be prosecuted as the Ovid Family Community Library. This is a demon that's in that vacant parking lot at 12 o'clock in the morning, stalking with the entity that is gang stalking by helicopter and planes. This is the entity that's engaging in this. I just want to be clear. This includes every commercial airline company, and this is, again, Mike LORENZ of the Ontario Police Department, who is put at the forefront of the prosecution of that agency of the people of the state, and literally him himself, okay? They are engaging in an identical pattern of conduct. All right, the entity's been engaging in what is psychopathic pacing. They were doing so over here, while the demons were along Euclid Avenue stalking with light. And now you're doing so over here, maintaining what is stationary in the path. All right, and they're doing so while engaging what is this P.O.C. Okay, this is the reason why Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer, Jason Fields, they're not going to be permitted in my presence. They're severely mentally ill. They are engaging in this same exact criminal activity. They are engaging in this, and they thought that this was going to result in my being depicted as mentally ill while I am documenting you being a psychopath stalking me. That's also speaking to their mental illness, okay? The absurdity of what is, in other words, it's so absurd, but it's because they're corrupt, and that's why they thought it was going to happen. But this is Mike LORENZ admitting that he is seeking to frame me for murder, and his criminal activity regarding what is stalking as a police chief. He's going to be prosecuted as a terrorist. This is P.O.C. It's currently 12:04 a.m. This is psychopathic pacing, which is serving to disband this agency that's using helicopters to engage in terrorism, stalking, and furtherance of further criminal activity. And they're doing so as what is a liability. They are a threat to the public. They're sharing in criminal activity together. They are the reason for the public corruption in Ontario, California. All right, this is P.O.C. And this is the image of the mentally ill, okay? The stalking with light conduct, combined with the psychopathic pacing. This is what's happening under the fake sun. The fake sun is over me, and all the demons are doing are pacing all around me, all around. And this is what they're doing at nightfall. This is P.O.C. It is currently 12:05 a.m.
All right, the entity that is stalking by targeting over here is doing so with the people of the state. And this is at 5 in the morning. License 9WLT537, who is a serial stalker as well. This is exactly where the entity's flying over and engaging in cartwheels while these vagina monitors who have engaged in gang stalking in order to frame me for murder, they're going to federal prison for it. This is my shadow upright. Here's my shadow over here. And this is psychotic. Okay, they're engaging in what is stalking on all the streets around as well, while the entity is maintaining what you could see all over. This is evidence supporting that the people of the state are stalking in order to frame for murder and in furtherance of my murder, while they've engaged in what is theft of my money. License plate 7MVZ377, and this is shared by the state of California. That's why I'm being gang stalked in Fontana. This is an entity that is targeting as a state effort. And the entity is going to be federally prosecuted for it, okay? The commercial airline companies are targeting with the people of the state. P.O.C. All right, here's the entity that's, again, engaging in what is criminal summoning with the Ontario Police while I'm at Mule Car Smokehouse, which is the Ontario Town Square. And they're hovering over that building where I'm located. And this is the entity flying west beyond that location, still hovering, maintaining a public nuisance is what this would be throughout the city of Ontario, doing so targeting where I'm located, which is not a coincidence, in concert with the Ontario Police Department, in a manner where the people of the state are sharing in that pattern of conduct. This is the gang stalker in the bakery aisle who's stalking me inside of the store. And they're engaging in this while the entity is maintaining what are the elements of monitoring. This is what the Ontario International Airport is doing in furtherance of seeking to frame me for murder. The Ontario International Airport and commercial airline companies are part of this gang stalking entity, which has conspired to not only frame me for murder and steal my money and identity, but to also murder me as well. This is relevant to the motives behind why Amazon Prime Air, Southwest Airlines, UPS, Delta Airlines, United Airlines, the entity that's gang stalking through the commercial airline companies, in concert with cities like Fontana, every city that I go to, and the same pattern of conduct. The entity that is targeting me, even though I don't personally know them, the entity that's engaging what are making up allegations with regard to another method of targeting while they are engaging in surveillance on my device, aware of the fact that those that seek to frame me for murder by gang stalking is engaging in what are obstruction of justice tactics. This is what the city of Ontario has engaged in. The entity's doing that while they're gang stalking the entire time. Okay? No terminals that are taking off, maintaining takeoffs, have any sort of flights that are hovering over Mule Car Smokehouse at 200 North Euclid Avenue or at the Ontario Village Shopping Center, okay, where the entity is engaging what is targeting by flying over this parking lot where the people of the state are demons engaging in the pattern of conduct, stalking like they're monitoring, and they are inside of whatever venues such as the Stater Brothers grocery store, stalking, following me around in the store, maintaining presence all around, literally aisle by aisle, in the same way that the entity is street by street, position to position by airplanes and helicopters. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:04 a.m. and the entity is maintaining published flights. There are a few at 6 a.m. The flights that are taking off over the sky space of the Ontario International Airport, which I have published with the fake sun over me, includes no hovering of any takeoff from that airport 4 minutes later over this parking lot. Takeoffs from two destinations that are legitimate flights are accomplished in the sky space above that airport. The entity is engaging what is hovering, as you can see the plane and you can hear the plane, and the entity does this on an ongoing basis, which is their psychopathic pacing, amplified noise in the engineer light, where the entity is stalking with the people. Okay, this is P.O.C. It is currently 6:04 a.m. Monitoring in concert. This is psychopathic pacing. License plate. Conspiring my murder. 7J10398. License plate. That's the people of the state gang stalking by going behind the shopping center. License plate 8WEE830. And this is the Stater Brothers parking lot where I showed you Stater Brothers in Fontana and Stater Brothers in Ontario are maintaining the fake sun over me at the exact same time in two different cities. That's impossible. And also where the evidence shows the fake sun is remaining at this one from morning until evening. And that's giving you context regarding the entity that seeks to frame me for murder while they're gang stalking me. While they have admittedly engaged in providing that evidence, they're admittedly engaging in what is that criminal purpose. This entity is responsible for murder that's coming out in the prosecution of the U.S. government, and the entity targeted me and tried to frame me for it while they're acting in furtherance of murdering me through use of that defamatory narrative. P.O.C. This is while they're monitoring. So this is part of what is harassment. You can prosecute for it. Blocking the path. This is totally unprofessional. And you're monitoring. He knows that I'm standing here. You're in the store engaging customer service and you're oblivious to your surroundings. And engineered light at that. Where the airport and the police are stalking as well. This is P.O.C. These are demons gang stalking in a grocery store. Oh, this is David Quinones as well. Remember, they're monitoring vagina. Okay? Pay attention. Excuse me. Hi.
Hi.
I've been waiting to get by. Do you think you can move the carts? Thank you. And this is the business practices, right? Welcoming customers, wanting them to spend money, blocking the passages, the passageway, and doing so as though you're oblivious. He's carrying a knife, a box cutter in his pocket, and he's acting as though he's oblivious to his surroundings. He's studying his device. I took a picture of that. He's monitoring. And this is a pattern of them blocking the passages. That's totally unprofessional and uncharacteristic of somebody, a venue that wants to spend money. They're blocking the walkways while they're monitoring me. Stalking in the path is what that's for. Oh, let me get this out of the way is one of the ways in which they're engaging in crossing path as they block your path. And you're not doing that as a grocery store. As a venue where they want you to spend your money, you're not blocking customers' way. You're also not ignoring them. You're not oblivious to your surroundings. You're always aware. You're always ready to be. I've been in customer service, and this is common sense. These are demons that are also doing so under the fake sun. I've been standing there for about 5 minutes already, and they're also doing that in the engineer light. Okay, this is P.O.C. This is Stater Brothers that's engaging in what is harassment, blocking my path inside of the store. That's a threat to me. While you are stalking me, following me around in the store, that's a threat to me. While the entity is stalking me in the parking lot while I'm en route and coming in and out of the store, that's a threat to me. While you're engaging in that conduct and monitoring on your devices, engaging in the demonic pattern of conduct, that's a threat to me. This is the P.O.C. And these are the unintelligent demons that are engaging in the pattern of conduct, and they would like to maintain that guise of, oh, I don't know, I'm ignorant about you, and no one's stalking you. This is where the delusional, it's going to be literally confounded by reality. The facts are not established by what the stalker want to present. Okay, that's the whole purpose of a government engaging in that. If the government says that it's this, then that's what it is. I'm prosecuting the government. The government's a demon-possessed, lying sex offender. Okay, so the entities engaging in that pattern of conduct. You're not ignorant about my presence in engineer light. It fills the store. You're not ignorant about my presence under the fake sun. It rises and sets here. You're not ignorant about my presence while the government is stalking me to and from your venue. You're also not ignorant about my presence when you are studying your device, monitoring me, stalking me with noise, speaking to a psychopath that's both monitoring you and then keeping their back to you. Okay, this is also the poor business practices. And why are they so disrespectful? Why are they so unprofessional? Why are they engaging in that which is clearly competing with what will be a successful store with regard to sales? This is what the focus is, right? Not when they are engaging in what is monitoring. And you will see all of what are prudent business practices going out of the window, because this is actually about surveillance and it's not about sales. That's the bottom line. Okay, this is P.O.C. and that's in every venue, at every location. The U.S. government, California, the people of the state, which is what Stater Brothers is, they are engaged in surveillance. Vagina monitors are stalking me, following me around in the store, in the parking lot, on the roads and the highways, where I even sleep. The Ontario Police and the Ontario International Airport are stalking where it is that I lay down. It's not about buying products. They're in here stalking. And they look around, oh, I'm looking for that. They're monitoring. While they're looking around and not addressing you while they're stalking you, they're doing so in the engineer light, and they don't have to say anything to you. The music is playing. The rest of the people are maintaining that same ongoing malicious presentation of everyone minding their business. Everyone's a demon. Everyone's in the engineered environment. All right, and everyone's maintaining what is a highly flawed act. And all of you witnesses can now be aware of the stage that they're all standing on, and they're very poor actors. And that poor acting is going to cause people time in prison and a never before contemplated level of damages that will, fortunately, remove a lot of companies from existence altogether. Okay, because they're not actually interested in selling these products. These products are here so that they can engage in what is criminal surveillance on behalf of the government. This is why they're blocking my path in order to get to the products. All right, that's the P.O.C. It is currently 6:55 a.m. This is documentation of harassment. It's also documentation of mental illness by that entity. That psychopathic and delusional behavior that they're engaging in while you are stalking, and nobody's thrown off by that. Everyone's aware of all the facts, and yet they continue in their act. The entities engage in what is acrobats in the sky space by planes and helicopters, and you're in here acting like that's not that's the evidence of mental illness. They're going to be committed and they're going to be convicted. P.O.C. Alrighty, and this is what's behind blocking the walkway inside of the grocery store. This is what's behind studying their communication devices. The entities engage in what is ridiculous in the sky space. This is not traffic coming from the airport. This is stalking by the airport. Stalking by commercial airline companies. And this is what the entity is doing while the people of the state maintain the role of being present and engineer light, which fills the grocery store, which is the facilitating venue. And I'm documenting the entity that's engaging in what are poor business practices, which is harassment. The poor business practices, the lack of professionalism, the disrespect, the awkward conduct by those that are engaging in that which you would not typically do if you were actually focused on selling products and maintaining a professional, welcoming environment, which is, again, what you're doing when you are actually not engaged in surveillance, distracted with that, and that being your focus. This is why the entity is doing that. This is the P.O.C. This is equally prosecuting the entity that's inside of the store. All right? The entity is doing so at what is 7:10 a.m. And you already know that the fake sun rises and is present into the evening, aimed perfectly on me underneath this covered structure. And there is no point in time where you will ever forget that the fake sun is over me at Fontana Stater Brothers and the Ontario Stater Brothers at the same time. No one's ever going to forget that. They also aren't forgetting stalking by the airport and doing so on an ongoing basis. This is the pattern of conduct. It is 7:11 a.m. The entities engage in this and what's published regarding the flights. This is what they're doing over the Mule Car Smokehouse. Southwest Airlines, these are demons. And it's a highly unintelligent system, highly unintelligent. From the same airport, you have different elevation. This is the public nuisance, and this is conspicuous surveillance. And this is the entity that thought that they were going to frame me for murder. They're going to prison. All right, Southwest Airlines is going to be prosecuted criminally and civilly. And the entities are doing so. Every airline company is going to be prosecuted. Everyone associated with what is the state of California, as I'm prosecuting them via the Ontario International Airport. This is P.O.C. Psychopathic behavior 58005 Xavier 1. That's an old white male. License 9XGH042. P.O.C. This, you pay attention because they're stalking at the stoplights. That's stalking with light. This is psychopathic pacing about San Antonio and Hope Boulevard. This is the entity that's maintaining various levels of elevation. There's only one on Ontario International Airport. Okay, and the entity's engaging in that's supposed to be what this is so unintelligent. So that's supposed to be, let's follow that. Is this supposed that are hovering over the Mule Car Smokehouse? And then you have is another airport that would be necessary for you to be hovering here? Okay, so in the same way that a sunrise over the bus stop at 537 North Euclid Avenue and you have another here, is that the logic of the demons that are monitoring evidence which is irreconcilable, highly unintelligent, maintained because the government is so idiotic and corrupt that they don't know what to do with the evidence of it? They're going to prison. This is P.O.C. And the entity is also going to be committed. This is the entity that's harassing and monitoring my vagina inside of this venue. Stater Brothers, P.O.C. Alrighty, this is Paul Leon, the City of Ontario stalking me with the people of the state. Doing so using the resources of the city, using the funds of the municipality, using the vehicles, using the venues. All right, the entity is engaging in this while on the venue of the internet, while in meetings in city halls. The entity is representing itself as though it's a legitimate municipality. The City of Ontario is engaged in surveillance, and this is surveillance, light activity, while the City of Ontario is literally flying over the top of my head. Doing so under the fake sun. City of Ontario engaged in criminal summoning at Safeco, and they're doing so while they are stalking as an airport. This is the federal prosecution of Paul Leon. That's what this is. These are the elements of that, and this is a terrorist that's going to be federally prosecuted for funding terrorism and for facilitating the conduct in furtherance of my murder, seeking to frame me for murder that Paul Leon is responsible for. And that is the explanation regarding a city that's targeting an American citizen and doing so in a very personalized and very specific manner. They're literally flying over the top of my head, and this is where the entity engaged in with the Ontario Police Criminal Summoning, Safeco. That terrorist is going to prison. So are all those gang members surrounding me, while the entity is acting like they're landing right here. You see them engaging what is on the opposite side of the street now, flying over the same venue. That's P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, 8:06 a.m. This is P.O.C. They're stalking. And so is Beltco. Okay, Beltco is creating light activity in the path right here. When I'm getting on the bus during the 9 a.m., 10 a.m. hour, when I'm here after 12 o'clock in the afternoon, this is understanding what companies are engaged in, which is surveillance and furtherance of murder. Companies are persons under the law, and these persons are engaging in surveillance. They're conspiring murder and using the businesses while they're profiting, and they're doing so under the sun. They're doing so intentionally while the entity is stalking by commercial airline plane, that's Southwest Airlines, doing so while the city of Ontario is flying my head again, all right? This is the prosecution of Paul Leon. Paul Leon's gonna be federally prosecuted. He's a demon that's intentionally maintaining a deceptive job as a pastor while being a politician who's engaging in this criminal system and facilitating, enabling a way for it to exist, for him to profit from it. And this is exposing that. And Paul Leon is going to be the basis whereby you're going to hold officials criminally responsible for that which they are reasonably and actually knowledgeable about. You're not ignorant about the entity, all the venues and all the ways in which the entity are utilizing the resources of a municipality for criminal activity. All right, the City of Ontario that's molesting me with impossible light in City of Ontario vehicles, molesting me and terrorizing me inside of the venues of the City of Ontario with impossible light, with those same city employees, while they're so-called working and engaging in that pattern of conduct under a fake sun, while they're engaging documenting the fake sun remaining over me, an entirely different experience, which is not going to be shared by anyone else, documenting, and not in any natural environment. The entity is, in this regard, surrounded by the pattern of conduct. But significance of capturing the video right now is not only that the people of the state are proven to be targeting, indeed a fake sun remains over me and not over that person. It's moving with the bus. Not remaining over that vehicle, it's moving with the bus that I'm on. And it's going to turn as the bus turns onto Vineyard from Hope Boulevard. And this is documentation of the entity that's stalking by commercial plane. The video you just saw, Southwest Airlines. is hovering over Emporia Place at the intersection of Vine Avenue and Hope Boulevard, where they are engaging in what is flying this tremendous distance, miles, to be at that low elevation where you're taking off at the airport itself. Okay, is giving you an indication regarding how far they're flying to then hover over target, in other words, under a fake sun, with the people of the state who are demons stalking with light, 9 Robert Henry Uncle 128, doing so while you are flying miles away from the airport to hover over me, as the entity is doing at 5:22 in the morning, outside of what's published on the Ontario International website regarding flights coming from terminals 2 and 4, which are these commercial airlines that are hovering over me at 200 North Euclid Avenue. That's a far cry from Airport Drive, which is this street, and the airport is what is south of this street right here. So this is the airport property, south side of this street, and the entity is flying northwest to then be over Euclid Avenue, hovering over me at the Stater Brothers, doing so while the demons such as 9SRX387, 9VJV741, the people of the state, are gang stalking. There are no planes that are taking off from this airport that are hovering miles away over the Stater Brothers parking lot, taking off from this airport. While the fake sun is remaining over me for the duration of the day, it's never over the airport, but for my presence at this airport, the entity is engaging in what is maintaining aerial surveillance through the commercial airlines such as Southwest, that is on video, engaging what is hovering over Emporia Place where the fake sun is over me. All right, that's the prosecution of the mayor. That's the prosecution of the gang stalking police department, the gang stalking fire department, the gang stalking people of the state, gang stalking companies such as Omnitrans. All right, and the entities engage in this while the airline companies are targeting in cities where there is no airport, such as in Fontana, and Amazon Prime Air is monitoring me under a fake sun that is in Fontana at this time on the record. Okay, that's what's happening at 7:35 a.m. in Fontana, California. It's 8:31 a.m. and the fake sun's over me in Ontario on the roads and the highways going onto the property of the Ontario International Airport, where you are not taking off from these terminals. You are engaging what is flying northwest to hover over me, where I'm showing you the entity is maintaining that specific environment, where the Ontario police are engaged in criminal summoning. They're engaged in a campaign of criminal defamation while they are stalking as a corrupt agency in furtherance of murder and to frame me for murder. And that's the significance of an airport that's clearly operating outside of what it is exposing about its own operations and what is proven through that specific environment. This is P.O.C, our pattern of conduct. And that's the distance that the entity is traveling in order to engage in surveillance. This is impossible light activity. And this is a demon that's stalking in the path. It's coexisting with the movement of the vehicle. These are demons that are doing so inside of the Fontana Lewis Library while they're stalking on Sierra and that impossible light traveling all across that wall. That's the pattern of conduct. Everybody on this bus is engaging in criminal surveillance. It's impossible light activity. Okay? And then they're engaged in stalking in the grocery store, blocking my path, which is going to be prosecuted as harassment, while they're engaging in obsessive and deranged and unprofessional, imprudent business practices, all because they're monitoring. All right, this is the RICO case. The unintelligent demon possessed that are being embarrassed, they're being put in prison, and they're going to be committed. P.O.C. This is the Ontario International Airport. It's currently 8:33 a.m. And that is psychopathic pacing. And this is what the entity is doing while they are monitoring what I'm publishing on the internet. pertaining to their co-defendant. This is the city of Fontana and the city of Ontario, the state, the U.S. government that's monitoring on the venue of the internet where you don't have any privacy. And what is going on the internet, which the entity is hostile to, the entity is in relevant position, engaging in terrorism, stalked with impossible light, with the people of the state vagina monitors that are pacing all around me, while impossible light is coding all over, flying about. This is what mayors are being removed from office for. Aquanetta Warren is directly accountable for what is going on in a San Bernardino County, city of Fontana venue, where she is in relevant position inside of the same Fontana Civic Center. These are employees of San Bernardino County, and these are the people of the state engaging in surveillance on behalf of that corrupt government in furtherance of murder, doing so while they keep evidence against itself under surveillance, and then commence engaging in what is ongoing acts of terrorism, which is stalking with light. Federal courts are going to have the entity committed, and it's also going to place in federal prison terrorists like Michael Dorsey, okay, who was stalking me by helicopter at this venue. This is P.O.C. You're looking at what is light. She's walking back and forth to the desk. She's engaged in psychopathic pacing. This is what the people of the state are doing on the roads and the highways under the fake sun. It's all impossible light while they're going back and forth and back and forth. And in the physical, it as unsuspecting conduct, traffic, it's surveillance. And they're demons that are monitoring. And that's what's happening inside of the Fontana Lewis Library. This is absolutely impossible. See the light, and you're looking at where that's coming from. These are demons that are engaging in surveillance. This is P.O.C. They're doing so on behalf of the Fontana police, by the way, who are engaging in monitoring everything, including my vagina. And they're all demons acting together. And this is also going back to who is going to prison as well, which is Mike LORENZ, as I'm prosecuting him by publishing evidence regarding this agency targeting me. And I'm subject to terrorism in the city of Fontana, which is the same U.S. government targeting in the targeting in the state of California. P.O.C. It is currently, this is the entity that's engaging, not new, documented it before, impossible light, right? This is happening on the bus, as I documented this morning, Omnitrans gang stalking while the fake sun remains over me. Documenting the Fontana Lewis Library along the walls on the opposite side over here, where the entity is targeting with light and all the demons feel centering their attention on books, and they're all in here monitoring me. It's terrorism. It's state action and the demon-possessed engaging in what is targeting someone. And they are molesting, monitoring, stalking with light, terrorizing with light. And it is a federal offense committed by the government. The government that's engaging in surveillance. This is P.O.C. Very, very demonic. Okay? That has no business, by the way, in law enforcement, around children, trusted around the elderly, working in the medical field, law enforcement, the legal field, etc. All the areas that I've documented where the entity is engaging in the P.O.C. It is 4:08 p.m. Ontario police stalking with employee 4254. This is P.O.C. This is surveillance on the roads and the highways. So Ontario police at Inland Empire and Haven are stopping directly in the path with regard to tracking my steps, okay? That's the entity that's stalking me nightly at the Ontario Town Square. That's the entity that's keeping a fake sun, including as I travel outside of Ontario, where it was formerly rising and setting. For example, at the library, Owen Family Community Library, where I remain. Okay, that's the same state actor that's exhibiting mental illness while that agency is stalking Michael LORENZ. And this entity is monitoring while I'm on the bus, and so is the driver. He is, again, employee number 4254, the same state actor yesterday. And the people of the state, everybody on this bus, is stalking, monitoring. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:08 p.m. This is P.O.C. Church and Hope Boulevard. And the entity is engaged in what is stalking by helicopter. Alright, look through the glare of the reflective window. That's the helicopter. Stalking at Church and Hope Boulevard. This is employee 4254 that's gang stalking me in furtherance of murder with these gang stalking passengers. Okay, monitoring my device and my usage of my device. Possible light activity. It's traveling through the middle of the bus. Yeah, that's not from the street lamps. This is P.O.C. And that's the demons then go to the Ontario Town Square and fly in circles like I'm getting every single night. That's the agency that's being disbanded. And this is, again, a stalking entity, the population, the city, everybody. While I'm on the bus, they're stalking in the parking lot, stalking with light, maintaining ongoing surveillance. The population that fills the United States are a bunch of demons that are monitoring. This is indeed a surveillance state. All right, that's the pattern of conduct. The entity is flying over the 150 East Holt Boulevard, San Bernardino County. This is Euclid and Holt. And that's the entity stalking by helicopter. This is the entity maintaining aerial surveillance. Okay, you'll see in my images, I'm taking a picture of a demon stalking, get their license plate. At the same time, this demon comes up and sits over here. It's crossing path, monitoring my device. License 8WBE 840. This is P.O.C. The minions that are operating these coaches are being federally prosecuted, and so is Omnitrends, which is a state actor. It's not a private third party. Privacy is an illusion. They're not private companies. There's no such thing as privacy. There's no such thing as private speech. The entities engage in surveillance. The people of the state are engaged in state action. This is surveillance stalking conduct. It is currently 9:30 p.m. They're sitting in the evidence. This is P.O.C. monitoring on the bus at nightfall. P.O.C. Alrighty, and this is the entity stalking by helicopter. This is exactly the same pattern that I'm documenting when I get off at Holt and Plum. This is the imprudent conduct of defendants that are not going to want to go to prison, like the cowards that are driving the buses. This is the entity that's gang stalking, vehicle 1040. That's the agency that's stalking with the people of the state. LORENZ is being federally prosecuted. And then they're flying circles over me at the Ontario Town Square. This morning, engaged in criminal summoning right here at the United States Postal Service, a relevant position where the Ontario International Airport is stalking me by flying over the Mule Cart Smokehouse at 200 North Euclid Avenue. And the people of the state are engaged in what is stalking. That's P.O.C. All right, this is the entity that's engaged in that, and this is the entity that's doing so while Fontana is targeting as one unified entity, and this is an entity that's going to be federally prosecuted together. This is state action. The city of Ontario is acting in the shoes of the state, and the state is being federally prosecuted as a terrorist, and all of the world knows that the United States of America is a terrorist, a domestic terrorist engaging in terrorizing not only those outside of the country. That's exactly what they're doing while they're terrorizing American citizens. They're terrorizing those outside of the borders of the United States. And the people of the state are not innocent bystanders. They're terrorists. They're stalkers. They're sex offenders, and they're all demons, all of them. This is a demonic entity. This is Satan's system of monitoring, which is demonic activity, and that's the pattern of conduct. License plate 8YJA724. This is P.O.C. That's the entity targeting, and that's employee number 4254 targeting. That's federal prison. Okay, this non-driving demon that's monitoring by keeping his foot on and off the gas for the entire route is doing so in furtherance of murdering me, while the Ontario police and the Fontana police, the city of Fontana into the city of Ontario, are maintaining ongoing surveillance with the demons that even board and get off of the bus pursuant to monitoring, stalking. P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, that's all impossible light activity, sexual violence. It's 9:33 p.m. Those aren't their headlights. License 7AAR146 in furtherance of murder. That's the perpetual sex offense. This is the entity that's engaged in sex trafficking. This is the entity that's engaged in what is stalking and seeking to frame me for murder. And they're all going to be federally prosecuted. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that's stalking on the side of the road right here. I'm going to get their license plate. That's surveillance by the entity. All right, and this is the infamous T-Mobile, where the entity's keeping the fake sun and engineer light flying inside of the T-Mobile. This is where I'm located at Euclid and Holt, where the entity is engaging what is releasing me off of the bus. And as I'm released off the bus, the entity is flying in circles by helicopter. This is the pattern of conduct as I'm publishing today regarding March 18th through March 22nd, 2026. And I'm publishing the evidence of the gang stalker that is the city of Upland, the city of Ontario, and I'm currently documenting the city of Fontana that's sharing the same pattern of conduct. License plate 8 U.S. 334 surveillance stalking. This is surveillance on behalf of Mike Lorenz, and they're going to federal prison together as well. License 9BJD733. While the entities engage in this, and this is what they do pursuant to my vagina as well, which sex offenders are keeping under surveillance. With a gang stalking police department that stalks in helicopters, stalks on buses, stalks in libraries, stalks in bathrooms, and does so under things like a fake sun. It's the exact same engineered light. This is what he's doing. This is the purpose. This is a demon. And they're being deported out of this country. They come to the United States to partake in betraying the American public, keeping all of us under surveillance in order to target, to steal from, to murder, particularly those that are followers of Christ Jesus. And even if you're not a follower and you have something that the entity wants, this is the beast system, you are subject to this system of surveillance, and they will take it from you and then frame you for it. That's the criminal defamation, painting you as a criminal. That's why every professional, every hospital, anyone engaging in criminal defamation, you're going to prison by this very evidence of the Ontario police stalking me by helicopter. You're going to prison. All right, and that's the genius that's engaging in that pattern of conduct. These are demons targeting at the opposite corner, and every license plate that I'm documenting. The fat, double chin female at the Fontana Lewis Library asking me to lower my voice is a gang stalking vagina monitor, the same exact population. As though you're supposed to be quiet and stay calm while you're engaging in psychological torture, stalking me with impossible light inside of that library. That's what is on the roads and the highways right now. That's what's flying in circles over by helicopter. This is the ongoing seamless pattern of conduct as I go from city to city. That's Upland, California, Fontana, California, Ontario, California, speaking to the pattern of conduct that's underway throughout the state of California, which is regarding the beast system that's underway throughout the United States. P.O.C. My shadow's appearing over here, which is impossible light activity. They're all demons and they're all stalking. This is surveillance. So in the video where you see Ontario Police on Inland Empire and Haven in alignment to me on the bus, that's the same conduct with regard to the fake sun in alignment to me on the bus. Those are demons that are stalking. And the Ontario Police are stalking, and that's why they're going to federal prison. Jay Montez, Hernandez, Craig Hazelwood and Owens, the entity that's gang stalking, L. Edwards, they're committing kidnappings while they're stalking, and they're all going to prison. This is the prize that you get when you're stalking me by helicopter. Why would they be engaging in that? These are suicidal, demon-possessed psychopaths who are no longer secretly targeting, all right? And they're so unskilled at what they do, while I've broken it down and exposed the existence of the beast system and the demon-possessed that are engaging in the beast system. The entity's engaging in what is providing evidence against itself, and they're doing so while they have committed murder and sought to frame me for that. It is very clear who the murderer is. The murderers are the ones that are stalking me wearing police uniforms. The murderers are the ones that are stalking me under a fake sun with engineered light. The murderers are the ones that are sitting around like psychopaths stalking in the middle of the night, 24 hours a day, obsessed with me and my vagina and every syllable that I utter. They're the murderers, and they are going to be federally prosecuted. The ones that sat in court and perjured themselves, they did so to frame me for murder while they are gang stalked, just like I'm documenting now. Every single last one of them are going to federal prison, and will not be limited because it's quote unquote a lot. A lot of them are going to prison. This is P.O.C. This is upon departure, employee number 4254. They're going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. All right, all these license plates I'm documenting at B Street in Euclid are engaging in surveillance with the entity that is stalking by helicopter and is stalking by commercial plane right here at this intersection of B Street and Euclid. All right, and I'm also documenting these demons over here on the side street. This third party stalking with light and goes into a facilitating venue at 106 B Street. And all these license plates are sharing in the pattern of conduct. I documented them. They're in C. The P.O.C., which you can see by virtue of my shadow enlarged at the top of that building over there, that's impossible light activity. All right, this is the entity that's stalking by plane and helicopter, which, again, the Ontario Police Department are nothing other than a walking, talking, gang stalking advertisement regarding who to prosecute, who is targeting with that agency that is overtly, inconspicuously, and admittedly targeting in furtherance of murder and with the intent to frame for murder. Murder that the Ontario Police Department, that Mike Lorenz is responsible for. And there will be no framing. In fact, they've admitted to engaging in that murder by virtue of targeting. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that's doing cartwheels and flying over. This is the stalking by the Ontario in concert with the Ontario Police Department. And these are the people of the state that are documented engaging in that 9NOU337 P.O.C. All right, Omnitrans is engaging in the criminal conspiracy to commit murder. They're engaging in what is criminal surveillance. They're engaged in that at Stater Brothers as well. This is what the entity is doing. So as I'm going from city to city, there are no terminals. They are hovering over the intersection over here at B Street and Euclid. And this is what they were doing this morning while the entity is flying over a mule car, which they're not doing now. Remember, because I'm in alignment with the mule car, they're going to fly over here south of my person. As I'm at the Ontario Town Square over here on the bench, then they fly over a mule car. This is where they're engaging in this morning, and the people of the state are parked on the sidewalk like I documented, while Griffith Company is stalking with light in the path, and the Ontario police are stalking with light in the path at the United States Postal Service 123 West Holt Boulevard, while the entity is stalking with commercial planes. And these demons are maintaining ongoing surveillance on the roads and the highways, stalking together, which is an ongoing 24-hour ceaseless endeavor. These are worker demons. These are all worker demons. Satan has full control over them, and all they are doing is monitoring. Okay, this is P.O.C. They are referred to as the people of the state. The entities engaged in this criminal activity and furtherance of murdering somebody, and they're going to be prosecuted as terrorists and identified. They're not murdering anybody. They've murdered their own future. They've murdered their own prospects regarding ever having any privacy, and they've murdered the prospects with regard to being successful in the criminal conduct under any secretive circumstances. This is P.O.C. These are demons. Alrighty, that's the pattern of conduct. It is currently, by the way, where the entity, that's the third plane. Look at these demons. 944. You can see the mutilation of the face. Alrighty, that's the pattern of conduct. These are the demon possessed. License 9 Mary Larry Nary 993. Excuse me, 9 Mary Larry Nelly or Nancy 993. All right, P.O.C. That's the pattern of conduct. They're doing so. They're all driving in traffic where you're looking at the engineer light. The entity is maintaining the flights over my location, south of me. The entity is flying in circles over my head by helicopter, followed from church. Followed from what is the Holt Boulevard at the Church's Chicken at I believe that is 715 West Holt Boulevard. While I'm starting that video, and the entity's stalking by helicopter, and the entity follows up to where I get off at the bus. The entity flies in circles over the top of my head. This is where the entity is stalking with commercial planes. This is ongoing incessant stalking right here. They're parked in engineer light, okay? They are of all ages and races. They are, again, engaged in that pattern of conduct in the identical environment, and there is no changing of that pattern of conduct, and there are none that are not engaging in that pattern of conduct. 9 Edward Apple Yolanda 928. This is shattering the illusion of privacy, shattering the illusion of sanity, shattering the illusion that there's any exception to what is a criminal conduct that the entity is clearly engaged in as an entity. All right, the entity is engaging in that together as one, and this is a 24-hour endeavor, including through what is going to be shut down, the Ontario Police Department, the Ontario Fire Department, the Ontario International Airport, who are engaging in this ongoing campaign, as I've been documenting for years, as I have been pummeling this entity with documentation, and I've documented how they are out of hostility, and because they are criminally monitoring on the internet and my devices, as I publish evidence, the entity engages in more terrorism, and that's exactly why Mike Lorenz, Derek Williams are being federally prosecuted, while Paul Leon is being federally prosecuted, while those that engage in kidnapping, which includes Upland Police and the Ontario Police, they're being disbanded. Okay, that's Darren Goodman, Marcelo Blanco, the current terrorist leader over the Upland Police, gang stalking me by helicopter as in 2026. They didn't end that pattern of conduct. That ongoing kidnapping still remains that which has not been compensated for, that which has not been answered for, and you are not retiring or transferring out of a federal prosecution. There is no statute of limitations. While the city of Ontario, the city of Fontana is gang stalking me. You kidnap me even in LA County, you're going to be federally prosecuted for it, speaking to the entire entity. All right, this is an illusion regarding city to city and jurisdiction. They're one entity. That's why Fontana Police maintains the identical pattern of conduct. The pattern of conduct is supernatural. The pattern of conduct is underway by the demon possessed. And this is speaking to that beast system where the entire population is demon possessed. Those that are targeted are those that are the exception. Okay, that's the P.O.C. It is current, and that's exactly what I represent. I am being targeted by the demon possessed, those that belong to Satan. Alrighty, and Satan is defeated. So this is Mule Car and El Bacone. They're gang stalking. I'm gonna get these license plates right now. Molestation, 9 Paul Jerry Thomas 577, sexual assault and battery. 9 George Robert 550, sexual assault and battery. This is El Bacone at 200 North Euclid Avenue. Peculiarized light, stalking with the Ontario International Airport, sexual assault and battery. License Edward 599 Edward 1. Doing so while the entity is stalking also serially with commercial planes. This is the same venue that's gang stalking while they are maintaining the venue, and the entity is flying over the venue by planes. This is the entity that's gang stalking in the back seat. I just want to be clear, this is the pattern of conduct. This is exactly what's going to be played in court when they're holding up the peace signs and gang stalking. This is what's going to be played in court. E599 Edward 1 is gang stalking and furtherance of murder. License plate 26G8296, sexual assault and battery. In El Bacone is the federal RICO case as well. They're making money off of gang stalking. This is the venue where the Ontario International Airport is flying. So while I'm on the opposite side of the bench, Ontario International Airport's flying over, hovering, plane after plane after plane. Okay, that's the entity that's gang stalking. El Bacone and Mule Car Smokehouse. This is the 200 North Euclid Avenue. Sexual assault and battery, license 8 Yolanda Thomas Larry 382. Stalking with the Ontario Police Department on a nightly basis while the entity flies over me by helicopter. The license plates that I gather on a daily basis, nightly basis, it's speaking to the totality of that crime. As I gain more and more specifically identified defendants, just for publishing and for sharing with the world, those that can identify, say you know somebody in San Bernardino and I document them. Yeah, they're a demon, they're a terrorist, and they are going to be prosecuted. License 9 SSK 648, sexual assault and battery. 7 Edward Indiana Mary 230, sexual assault and battery, stalking with the City of Ontario, plane and helicopters, in furtherance of murder. 5 Wendy Thomas 920, sexual assault and battery, stalking in the backseat of the car. It appears as though this one. Anyway, license plate. I'm going to get the license plate of this vehicle. Whether they're in the car or not, it doesn't matter. License plate 9 Kelly Sam Thomas 244. License 9 Henry 0 Thomas 906. And if you'll pay attention, what I documented this morning during the 5 a.m. hour, the two-door vehicle that's parked right here, this is where the entity was stalking by commercial planes right here doing a cartwheel. And while I was at the bench on this side of the El Bacone, the entity was flying over the building. That's what I documented on video. As I walk over here, then they're flying, again, south of my person, doing a cartwheel. And the demon was in the vehicle, using the vehicle as lights. Ontario police were stalking at 123 West Hope Boulevard, engaged in criminal summoning. Griffith Company was stalking at what is Hope Boulevard and Plum. They're maintaining a perimeter of light. I published that on X, okay? The entities engaged in this while they are stalking in the path, and they're doing so while the federal government is aware of what is the criminal motivation, the criminal acts of this entity seeking to frame for murder, while the city itself is engaging in that and stealing from me simultaneously. This is the prosecution of Paul Leon, who was funding terrorism, having committed these criminal acts and doing so, facilitating that violence amongst the population. Paul Leon's being federally prosecuted and being removed from office for the stalking by the Ontario Police, by the Ontario International Airport, by the people of the state in the city of Ontario. For the facilitating environment that is shown in Ontario, where he's a part of that same community and you're not remaining in office as a terrorist. License 9 UUZ 538. This is P.O.C. This is all serving to not only prosecute, as I'm prosecuting the agency, all right, which is prosecuting the city, that's prosecuting the official that is exposed as a terrorist. That's anyone, including Karen Bass, Aquanetta Warren, you have Paul Leon, okay? As I'm speaking to the entity that as you're going from city to city and I'm showing you that pattern of conduct, they're not remaining in office. These are terrorists that are being removed as the entity is targeting me in these cities, and they're doing so pursuant to what is a criminal objective, like I stated, of murder. All right, this is a widely invested criminal case, and that's why you have people that I don't know I don't know the people in Ontario that are gang stalking me, let alone going to cities like in Fontana where the entire community is targeting, and that's proven through that environment and the entity that's stalking by commercial plane and helicopter in that specific environment, targeting while I'm aboard public transportation. This is the entity that's engaging in that, and it is the investment of the entity to engage in what is murder, and in this particular circumstance, this entity targeted to try to get away with stealing my wealth. They've already done that, and they've been doing that for years. This is no longer a secret, and they're still engaging in surveillance while they anticipate raids. They anticipate criminal and civil prosecutions, and I'm maintaining this evidence because I'm going to federally prosecute based on that knowledge and that simultaneous conduct of terrorism. The entity that is anticipating the fact that they are handing over what it is that they stole from me, and they continuously engaged in targeting me in furtherance of murder and psychological torture the entire time, which is an unlawful threat posed to me even by the court that permitted this entity to steal from me and violate my due process rights. While Mike LORENZ, in other words, and the city of Ontario is targeting, the state of California is targeting the court system that is aware of the fact that it was improper to permit anyone to to take my money, doing so under fraudulent, dishonest, improper circumstances. has permitted that ongoing threat. It is reasonably foreseeable when you've committed that sort of violation for that amount of money, and that you leave that person, that subject to that, unbeknownst to them. They're still not a part of those court hearings. They're still not informed about it, and you are leaving that ongoing risk to exist. That's a basis to recover from the court that has not resolved that issue. That ongoing threat that remains, including as I'm documenting in this very evidence. It is insufficient that the entity is anticipating on giving me what was stolen. It is insufficient while I remain in this impoverished state subject to the pattern of conduct. The government is very much engaged in, the people of the state are the government, very much engaged in trying to steal from me. I'm documenting poisoning. I'm documenting ongoing battery, theft of my property. I'm documenting ongoing psychological torture tactics and harassment by a population, which is terrorism, while they're stalking. They're not stalking just because they want to scare a little bit. This is the entity that wants to engage in what is murder because they are mad that they're not keeping my money. And a court that has nonetheless provided what is a basis to receive what was stolen from me is still engaging in what is unlawful. It's not merely irresponsible. It's not merely insufficient. It is criminal that I remain subject to this, and I remain subject to this while you are aware of what is going to be a reasonably foreseeable threat where a government has stolen money like the entity has done. Okay, that's the P.O.C. This is the entity that's engaging what is stalking with impossible light. This is criminal conduct of the Ontario Police Department. The same entity that's stalking by helicopter, walking on foot is the psychopathic pacing. They're acting together. They're not strangers. They're engaging in this while they are stalking on Euclid Avenue, and I just documented a series of their license plates. They're stalking, gang stalking, and monitoring, not socializing. They're not focused on that. That's why the entity is stalking by plane and helicopter over the El Bacone. That's why the entity keeps things like a fake sun and a fake moon over me. This is the entity that's engaging in that, and simultaneously ongoing is a prosecution of the court, which is a part of this corrupt system that intentionally left me in a state of what is oppression, ongoing threat to my life and safety, when that court is aware of the fact of the years of being stolen from, and an idea, more than an idea, of what has been suffered while this entity has been stealing from me. And it includes this criminal activity. Permitting it to go on is unlawful. Permitting it to go on while it is even being documented, which this entity, by virtue of the crime of monitoring, is aware of that evidence, that's unlawful. It will not be enough for Mike LORENZ to be in prison, but those that are going to be federally prosecuted include those that call themselves returning to me what was stolen, but you left the circumstance the same. Okay, that's the entity that's being federally prosecuted for that. This is what American citizens are never able to give voice to because they're already 6 feet under. And corrupt courts that permit theft like this, that aren't forced to do what is only half of the problem, which is restoring wealth, which I still have not touched my money, have not heard anything. I have not been a part of any court hearings. Nonetheless, this is something that the entity is anticipating while I'm being gang stalked. And in other words, the entity hopes to take my life before I even access that. And that's the unlawful threat. That's criminal conduct by the state. That is literally committed to get away with stealing from you. So I just want to be clear. The superficial appearance of, oh, well, it's in the process of coming back to you while we're still gang stalking you. We are still targeting and further into murdering you to get away with stealing your money. That's the same criminal conduct. It is not different. This is P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, 9:56 p.m. This is relevant to the prosecution of terrorists. Terrorists that are going to be federally prosecuted, and they're going to prison. They're not just going to give me my money. They are going to federal prison. And it includes that, which is Paul Leon. It includes those that are gang stalking me in other cities, like what's going on in Fontana and in Upland. It includes those that are gang stalking in concert with that entity, which are the people of the state. Those that are sharing in the ongoing criminal defamation campaign in order to murder me and also frame me for murder that this entity committed while they have already stolen from me and are targeting because they surmised that targeting in this manner, which works against demons like them, would successfully defame my character. And that way I would look like I'm a mentally ill person claiming that I'm being gang stalked without any evidence, and also that I'm a murderer, which is what this entity has contended outside of my knowledge. And the entity stalking me by helicopter is not investigating an alleged murder. Mike LORENZ is targeting me as a murderer, as a stalker, and a thief. And the court that has permitted this entity to steal my money is also criminally and civilly responsible for it, as I remain under what is an ongoing ceaseless threat, which is also the purpose of this documentation. This is P.O.C. It is currently 9:57 p.m. This is the same one that's stalking with the Ontario police last night and is engaging in surveillance with the people of the state in furtherance of murder. This is the entity that's engaging in surveillance as an entity and is stalking in the path where I'm at the bench and is doing so with the Ontario International Airport and the Ontario Police last night. This is the fat male that was sitting on the bench while the entity was flying in circles. He's gang stalking again on another night in furtherance of murder and doing so in furtherance of kidnapping. And this is the ongoing servitude of the entity that are engaged in that. Michael Lorenz is going to prison for this, and the people of the state, I just captured his identity, and this is federal prison. He's monitoring while the entity is maintaining light activity for his criminal purposes. He's stalking a woman in the middle of the night. This is a psychopath. These are the sex offenders keeping my vagina under surveillance as well. He is stalking at nightfall with a whole bunch of other demons that are crazy that are stalking as well. This is light activity. This is P.O.C. This is a stalker that's turning the corner as I walk to the sidewalk. License plate, they're stalking. 9 Edward George Sam 325. All right, that's stalking. That's the stalking conduct. These are demons that are tracking my steps. And over during the day while the fake sun is over me, that's how you're able to see that they're tracking my steps while a fake sun remains over me. And that's the significance. This is facilitation, the light activity. And all of this is about me. This is all about me. License 4PK2831. All right, and prosecuting the city of Ontario, prosecuting the entity that's gang stalking in a relevant position. The people of the state are monitoring. So while you're engaged in gang stalking, you're facilitating gang stalking, and that is also a basis of federal prison. All right, and this is P.O.C. This is Field Transport Incorporated, leaving the vehicle here for light activity purposes. The entity is engaging. The Ontario police are stalking in the path. They're monitoring to this facilitating light activity. Again, the basis of federal prison. Enabling the kidnappers and the murderers themselves to engage in the pattern of conduct. The stalkers go to the ATM, maintaining what is relevant positioning, stalking in the path. See. All right, this male over here is stalking me, remaining there at the town square, monitoring while these demons are pacing. 9 ETM. I can't really see the rest of that license plate. While they are engaging, this is a surveillance system all night long, okay? And this is the entity that's engaging in what is stalking me while I am sleeping outside. And this is the entity that has stolen my money. And then the entity that is also a court that's allegedly engaging in what is giving me my money back, even though I haven't been part of any court hearings, okay? There have been, and that's again illegitimate. So this is the entity that has engaged in what is stealing from me, and I remain subject to the exact same pattern of conduct. No information, no participation, nothing has been rectified by the so-called court. And this is the entity that's still engaging in the same exact criminal conduct. You're stalking me in order to engage in what is killing me to get away with stealing my money. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging that Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields are working hand in hand to that criminal end, and they're both going to federal prison. All right, and that includes what is Eric Spencer, all of those that engaged in what are participating in court hearings. They did so with the Ontario police that are stalking me by helicopter. They did so with the city of Ontario that's stalking me with commercial planes, with the state of California who are engaging in this system because they plan to kill me and take my money and frame me for murder that these gang stalkers committed. That's P.O.C. while they're stalking me at the Ontario Town Square. This is a fat male. He's engaging what is stalking on behalf of Ontario police, and that's why they're being disbanded. The Ontario police are responsible for this criminal conduct, which is an unlawful threat. All right, and it's also impunity while he sits there gang stalking. You're going to prosecute for that. All right, he's not acting by himself. All right, remember the other night, the entity stalking, walking his dog, and then engaging what is psychopathic pacing by helicopter as I document him. These are demons that are surrounding. These are not men. These are creatures. These are demons. These are not men. P.O.C. This is stalking that the scan through the population. It's 11:18 p.m.